Yeah. Yeah, I think I liked it. Here we are. It has been a very long time coming for She-Hulk to be released. And I will say for its debut, it was a very surreal experience for me because I've always grown up reading the comic books and, playing some of the video games, Marvel vs. Capcom 3 being one of them because I'm a huge nerd. And so I've always been really entranced with the Hulk stratosphere. That being like one of my favorite Hulks is Betty Ross, which is AKA Red She-Hulk. And she was actually the very first comic book, entire running of a comic book that I've ever seen. But for She-Hulk, she's always been someone that's always captivated me. And I've never really seen her in media that has, I would say, done her justice. That's the word I would use. And here we are, as I've said. And now Marvel has put out a TV show and has had a lot of strong opinions about it. We have people saying, oh no, SJW. People saying, oh no, woke. People are like, oh no, if you hate it, you're sexist, stuff like that. So my stance on the entire situation is I'm going to look at it for how it is. If I feel offended by something that happened, then I will explain why I am, not just going to say it's offensive in general. If I feel like something may have been exaggerated and people are just running with whatever idea they want to run with just because they can, then I'm going to explain that as well. And so as I go through this being one of my very first reviews, which is very fitting because I've always loved She-Hulk, I'm going to try my best to be as clear as I can about everything that I feel about the entire situation sitting around this TV show. And so in most cases, people would like to start with the good, right? Well, let's go ahead and let's nerd out. Let's talk about what's good with the show. See, here's the thing. The list of bad things that I have with the show, like my grievances, versus the good that I have with the show, it's night and day. And so I can sit here and nerd out for 8 hours about how this show has done a character that I've loved for so many years justice, but I would rather go ahead and talk about some of the criticisms that I have for the TV show first. That way we can end on a better note. Okay, so I've been watching Marvel movies for the past, forever. And one of the things I haven't really liked about the cinematic universe is their handling of the Hulk. Now, granted, like I said, I'm a big fan of The Incredible Hulk, where it was the actor of Edward Norton portraying this amazing character. Unfortunately, though, there are some things behind the scenes that happened, and he couldn't come back because I don't know the exact details, but he couldn't come back and do the Hulk. So they went ahead and they introduced a new actor to come in and to portray him. What was his name? Mark Ruffalo. And they went ahead and got the actor Mark Ruffalo to take up the mantle, if you will. And I can't say that I've neither liked or hated his portrayal of the Hulk. I mean, it was just the Hulk. For me, unfortunately, me being a purist, I really enjoyed the Incredible Hulk version. I might make a video on why I feel the Incredible Hulk is a timeless masterpiece, but today isn't that day. Right now, we're giving it to She-Hulk. So, as I've said before, Hulk has been here I've been here since the very beginning, and I've seen the transitions. And one of the things I've noticed about Mark Ruffalo's portrayal of the Hulk is it is descended into comedy, right? When in the very beginning, Hulk was a very downtrodden, very sad, for good reasons, type of character. It didn't really ground the character in a way, but it gave a sense of consequence. And it made me feel so much for this character because there is so much that comes with having this kind of power that he has. And then having to turn around and mistakenly hurt people, destroy property, that kill people even. And I've noticed that with the later iterations of the Marvel movies, Hulk, especially after Thor 3, Ragnarok, is Hulk became a completely comedy character. He was there for someone to laugh at, not for someone to laugh with. And even if it was to be laughed with, it's because he was the one cracking jokes. And then he spouts this entire speech to Jennifer about the responsibilities of being a Hulk, and the fact that you can hurt people, the fact that the world is going to see you differently. And he says all these things, and am I just supposed to pretend that after killing multiple people in what was Avengers 2, am I just supposed to ignore the fact that he wasn't dabbing in a cafe with a bunch of kids? Am I supposed to just ignore that and just say, yes, he has killed a lot of people, but that's okay, he's Hulk? No, I do believe that entire speech is bullshit from the perspective of continuity with Mark Ruffalo's Hulk since Ragnarok. Because yes, in Avengers 2 there were consequences to his actions, not as strict as it needed to be, but there were consequences. But after a while, he became a celebrity, and so I feel like when you become a celebrity for who you are, I feel like it kind of lessens the effects of yes, there are consequences to being what I am. So I really didn't like that too much. It's a very small thing, but for me, since I've been on this 15, damn near 20-year journey, I know for a fact that is complete bullshit what he is saying, specifically because of how the writers have portrayed him as a character since Thor 3. To skip ahead to the very end of the episode, I'm not going to give out any spoilers, but the ending part of the episode, I feel, was a little weak. I feel like they could have spent a little bit more time fleshing out some of the scenes that were a part of it. Again, I don't want to spoil it. I might make a spoiler discussion if there's enough turnout for a spoiler discussion. But to be a little on the vague side, there wasn't enough time for me to enjoy what was happening because things were happening way too fast. And I feel like if they would have been able to hone in and just give it like another 3 to 4 minutes, they could have really made that scene pop a whole lot more. But it was over before it began, and I felt like that was more rushed because they want to hurry up and get to the next episode. The scene that happened wasn't really as important to this episode, and it's important to a different episode, and that's why they want to wrap it up a whole lot quicker. But just know, I noticed it. There was another scene that bothered me too, and it's like I said, it's a small one. So Jennifer, she just got done hulking out, and now she's in a location she's unfamiliar with. Out of nowhere, she finds this bar, and she goes into this bar, and she's getting herself together. When she's outside waiting for Hulk to show up, because they were both together before she blacked out and in a different location. 3 dudes exit the bar and start, catcalling her and saying, "Hey, baby, what's going on with you?" And so the entire time she's trying her best to be like, "Please leave me alone. Please leave me alone." And as these guys are coming on to her and not leaving her alone, she finally has enough, and then hulks out and is about to agree to whoop their asses. And then Hulk out of nowhere tackles her before she can even get her hands on these potential rapists. Now, the reason why I don't like that scene is because I feel like it would have meant a whole lot more for her to fight back than it would be for her to be stopped mid-fight. Now, granted, she could have ripped these dudes in half with her anger, and Hulk was just trying to save them. But from a writing perspective, I feel like it's weird that Hulk didn't show up during the confrontation and not when it reached the apex. I think that's just weird from a writing perspective, because I would have loved to have seen them get their comeuppings in some way, shape, or form. I thought that was a little weird. I don't know why they decided to write it that way. And then another small nitpick. It's a small one. There is one point where Jennifer is gonna get ready to leave the island, and she jumps in the Jeep, and she's about to get ready to drive off. Hulk stands in front of it. "You're not going anywhere. We still got a lot to talk about." She starts driving, and at some point, again, as Hulk is on the hood being drugged backwards, the Jeep is able to send him hard enough into an ensemble of rocks, and is able to break those rocks. And I thought, that's not how physics work at all. There's no way this normal ass Jeep can fling someone that heavy and that big with enough force to break standing boulders that are stacked and to break them. So I thought that was a little bit of an oversight, but that's one of the small comical things that I've kind of noticed. Okay, now that that's out of the way, now we can get into the stuff that I did like. Okay, so starting off from the very beginning, I like the fact that they did keep some of her origins the same. In the comic books, she gets a blood transfusion from Bruce Banner, and that blood transfusion allows her to become She-Hulk. In the show, instead, they are in a car wreck, and Hulk is bleeding out as she's trying to carry him out of the car. During this time, the blood gets into some of hers because she's also bleeding. It gets into her, and then she hulks out. I like the fact that they actually did keep the blood transfusion thing in there. They didn't have to do that. They could have used some other excuse. If it's one thing I know about Marvel, they have a knack for wanting to change certain things that they do with some certain characters' origins. Like, again, we have to wait at least about 7 to 10 years for Hawkeye to get a hearing aid. I'm not saying that I'm a stickler for the details, but those details to these characters are very important. Some people don't feel like details to superheroes are very important because, again, why do you care so much about details that don't really pertain to a character? And I feel like that the origin does pertain to the character because that's what shoots them into the direction of being a superhero in the first place. And so I like the fact that they did kind of keep that in there because it lets me know that they did care enough about her character to give her the right origin that she needed. And let me say, out of all the Marvel characters I've seen so far, I am 100% happy to say that they got Jennifer Walters, aka She-Hulk, 100% right. I have read the comics. I have read multiple runnings with her. I have seen so many different iterations of this character, but I do know her origin. I do know her personality. I do know her quirks and small things like that. And as a comic book fan, and that's probably She-Hulk and Hulk and a little bit of Spider-Man are the only 3 comic book runs I've ever just read. Some of them not all the way through, but those are the 3 comic books I've just read in the general sense. Out of that, I can say that they got her 100% accurate. I'm excited to say that yes, this is the She-Hulk I would have made if I were to make a She-Hulk TV show. And I would even argue that they made it even better. Her confidence, her stature, the sexiness, her crude humor, her nonsensical nature, everything is there with her character. And the fact that they added in the fact that she does break the fourth wall. That is one of the main things I know people wouldn't really understand when first seeing the TV show. I'm sure they might get thrown off a little bit. You know, they might think, oh, they're trying to make this like a sitcom, or, oh, are they trying to make this more like Deadpool? She actually broke the fourth wall in the comic book runs before Deadpool even existed. So it was really nice to see the fact that they actually did do some kind of homework, because I'm so used to characters being introduced and them not, the Marvel Studios not really paying homage to the character and really giving them the origin and the characteristics that they really need. And it more or less makes the watching some of the Marvel movies a little bit more harder for me, because of the fact that I feel like there's a lot of character assassination that goes on for the sake of making characters funny. Here, I feel like Marvel's humor actually does work for Jennifer Walters. I have argued 1,000 times before with a lot of groups of people that I feel like Marvel's humor is a little bit over the top. Here, it works. Jennifer Walters has always been an over-the-top kind of character, and they can finally start doing that with her. They can finally start going over the top with her character, and I'm so excited to see them do her right. This is Marvel at its best. Finally, the people who are up there wanting to make hee-hee-ha-ha funny jokes all the time can now finally sit down and actually go crazy with this, because there are so many things with this character that is goofy and over the top and hilarious that they can actually do. The entire time, I was never taken out by the humor, because that is how she is. If something felt over the top, if something felt exaggerated, I was 100% for it, because that's how she's always been. And I really enjoyed the fact that they got her personality and her characteristics right. She is perfect so far. Another problem I know people might have had, and I have had this problem too, is how is the CGI really going to look in the final product? The trailers look terrible. I was one of those people who felt the same way. And as you know, we're on the good section of this. And let me say that CGI is fantastic. I really enjoyed just watching Jennifer Walters do her thing. And my God, does she do her thing. She does everything right, from her facial expressions to even when she's not in Hulk form and she's just talking to Bruce Banner in Hulk form. It feels like Hulk is actually there. When she hulks out and she Hulk, man, and you see the tiny mannerisms in her face and her lips, again, how the way her hair flows, it looks good. I wasn't taken out at any point looking at how they were able to do the CGI so well. Was it perfect all the way through? I don't know. I wasn't paying attention. I was too busy enjoying She-Hulk, so I couldn't tell you. I have no complaints with the CGI. I would even say it's downright too good at times. And I would say one of the best sequences was when they were on the beach, when they were tossing rocks and doing yoga. Those, and when her hair was put up, those scenes were basically Marvel CGI team at their best. I really enjoyed just seeing her move. And honestly, being a fan that's grown up on this character, seeing her in motion like this, it was great. And you have to realize this too. I have no reason to kiss this show's ass. I have no reason to. I do not like Mark Ruffalo's Hulk because of what Marvel has done with the character in terms of making him more of a jokative character. But what they were able to do here, it was able to pull back on Hulk's over comic nature and was able to give that comedy to a character that actually does deserve it. He was actually playing the straight man here. And honestly, out of this entire time of me hating Mark Ruffalo's Hulk since Thor Ragnarok, honestly, after me not really liking the character too much, I actually do like him here. He actually has some kind of weight to what he says. Not everything he says is a joke, and his humor isn't based off of just saying things. His humor is also based off of him bouncing off of his cousin. And that brings me to another part too, was the chemistry and writing of everything. It was really good. Every word that was said in this show had something behind it that was entertaining. Again, one of the things about humor I'm very subjective about my humor, okay? I don't just laugh at things just because people say it's funny and I should laugh. It takes a certain prowess for me to actually find humor funny, because some people like to take the easy way out with humor, and instead of it making it humor, they more or less say just it's funny. But with the humor here, it is more based around character. And that's one of the things I really do like. Some humor is based around saying certain words. Some humor is based around more toilet humor. Some humor is more around, using pop culture references, things like that. But here, these are characters. These are people staying within their character, saying things that only their character would say. So whether you find it funny or not, you're still getting plot and you're still getting story, and it's not being stopped. And I feel that's really important to anybody that's out there writing any character, is be sure that your character, if they're going to be funny or they're going to be humorous, make sure that what they say does push the plot forward. Because if someone doesn't find it funny, then you just stop the entire movie and not getting that kind of the reaction that you want, and it takes away from the plot and the story. And so here, every word that is said had some kind of weight behind it, some kind of character humor that pushes their personalities forward and also helps those characters develop and grow. Again, it was good. The chemistry between Jennifer Walters and Bruce Banner, in all the Marvel movies that I've seen and Marvel TV shows, this has got to be by far the most natural chemistry I think I've ever seen. It has to be. Nothing feels forced. Nothing feels out of place. They feel like they've known each other for such a long time and have always been petty against each other since the beginning of time. And those are some of the small things I actually did enjoy with this, is the fact that I just enjoyed them on screen together. Again, I don't need to kiss this show's ass. I don't like Mark Ruffalo's Hulk after Thor 3. I don't like him. But if I am sitting in my chair looking at this and I'm just enjoying the atmosphere without worrying about what's going on in my life, what's going on CGI-wise with the TV show, what's going on, where's the plot going to go? If I'm just sitting out just enjoying myself, enjoying seeing these characters interact with each other, then I feel like they've done something right. And they did something very right here. And I really enjoyed that about the entire show. One of my favorite scenes, and it's a very small one, whenever you guys get to it, you'll know what I'm talking about. There is one moment after a certain scene happens. They are at Hulk's little mini bar on the beach, and they're eating Cheetos with chopsticks. They're about to grade to toast each other with the Cheetos. There's certain mannerisms that she did during that entire scene, especially into the end, that I really enjoyed. There is a lot of subtlety with She-Hulk and Hulk's nature that I really do like, that really adds to their personality. There's times when she's happy, you can see her get a little bit more dainty. When she's angry, you get to see that. Like, again, it's not one of those things that are just cut and dry. She's just doing her lines and she's getting out of there. And you have to realize this is also the CGI version of Jennifer Walters and not the actual actress. So the fact that they're able to put those little mannerisms, those little ticks onto a CGI character shows how well they really wanted this first episode to be and how they really want their first step to be the best. It was completely good all the way through. And again, the entire time, my entire world was turned off. I was sitting down entranced. And like I said, me and Marvel don't have the best relationship. And the fact that I can actually sit down and enjoy this show the way that I did is a testament to how good and how well these writers tried their best to make sure that She-Hulk was as close to her comic book version as possible, because that's the part of her that's the most interesting. You don't need to change characters to make them more modern for our age. If they already have a fan base, you don't need to change these characters to appeal to a larger audience. The people who are already your fans are going to rejoice and talk about you. Word of mouth is the most important part. I mean, hell, I'm talking about it right now. This is actually my very first review. So when you do your things right, people are going to sing to the heavens about how good you are, whether that be media, whether that be, a restaurant, whether that be a certain product. If you put your right foot forward, people are going to talk about it. And then they're going to get other people to interested, and then they're going to talk about it. And so that's what this show was able to do. The show had me captivated. It wasn't until that very last little bit where I feel like they kind of dropped the ball. But honestly, it's dwarfed in comparison to how much fun I really had with the show. I'm going to sing its praises because I have to. Because as a fan of She-Hulk who has read the comic books, and I've only read a few, and she was one of them, as a person who's read these comic books and is looking out at how she was transferred onto the big screen, I would say they did a 100% good job doing that. But there's another side of the coin too. Just because you are accurate to your comic book counterpart doesn't mean that you're good, right? So I'm also judging it not on comic book accuracy. I'm also judging it on how well the show does portray what they're trying to do in the general sense. And they do that well too. So it's firing on every single cylinder. Me as a comic book fan, and me as a She-Hulk fan, and me as just a fan of just good media. It's hitting on all cylinders. I don't know if it's going to continue that way. I don't know. That doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not going to be there to see how well or how bad it goes, because now they have me hooked, and I cannot wait to see where we go from here. If I were to score this particular episode out of 5 stars, I would definitely give it a 5 out of 5 stars for me personally. That would be my own personal score. But I feel like for the average viewer, I would have to give it a 4 out of 5 stars. I really did enjoy it, and I feel like everyone who watches it is going to enjoy it. I feel like the people who aren't going to enjoy it as much are the people who feel attacked by the SJWs, or people who feel attacked by woke culture, or people who feel like, women shouldn't be in media. I don't know, all those weird people. I'm going to let that be what it is. They can have whatever ball they want to have with it. Personally, for me, I'm going to continue to sit down and enjoy She-Hulk. I'm going to continue to do that because it's been a long time since I've really been happy with a Marvel show, since I've been happy with a Marvel anything. It was something that really captivated me from start to finish, and there's nothing that could have pulled me away from it. And that's one of the things that I really did enjoy about the entire thing. The pacing was so well. I really enjoyed it. I think you will enjoy it too. Go out and go see it if you can. And if this show does disappoint me in some way, shape, or form, at least I can say I have episode 1 to look back on and really reminisce in how well they really did her character. And if you like what you've seen here, be sure to subscribe and like my channel. The support's going to help me do more videos like this for you guys in the future. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day or night, depending on which side of the world you're on.